the Reb Ryder Show, January 7th, 2022, and this is the old Reb coming at you live from Central South Dakota, the voice of South Dakota, on rapidfire.caster.fm. Today, we have a special guest that we'll be visiting with. We're going to be talking to Doug Sweet out of Virginia, a real patriot and a real American. You'll find out who he is here in just a few minutes. Stand by. All hell is about to break loose on Rapid Fire Radio. All right, the old Reb is getting ready to go live for a broadcast here, about 30 minutes late. But, you know, in order to get these broadcasts to work sometimes, this is what happens. We're going to try it again today here. We'll see what happens. And we'll get the job handled, so stand by. You never know what's going to happen next. We're going to give old Doug Sweet a call. So let's see what happens here.
Hey, brother.
Brother Doug.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Doug Sweet, you are on Rapid Fire Radio worldwide and TV as we speak right now in Central South Dakota. How are you, my friend?
Awesome. I'm doing well today, Reb. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm sure sorry about yesterday.
Hey, it's okay, man. It's, we did a candlelight vigil last night for the J6 people that are in prison still. And we had a good turnout. Had a lot of good prayers, good speakers. A lot of information came out. It was pretty cool. But I guess what I'm on here today is talk about my ordeal on January 6th last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I found myself in following Mr. Trump's orders to come up and support him at his Stop the Steal rally, and I found that was a really cool event. He had I've never seen that many people in one place in my life. It was unreal how many people were there. He asked us to go to the Capitol. He didn't tell us to destroy anything. Like, I guess mainstream media has probably blasted it out there that, he wanted us to do something. But, facts of the matter are, he asked us to peaceably walk up there, and that's what I would say 99% of the people there did.
You were the very first one to be arrested, weren't you, Doug?
Yes, I was. I find, that's kind of remarkable too, with the volume of police officers that were there, and to think what all went on before I got there, because we waited until Donald Trump finished speaking, but I noticed a full, I don't know how to estimate, but I would say at least 3,000 people left 20 to 30 minutes early. And I was remarking on that when we were standing there watching. We were watching the jumbotron of Mr. Trump speaking, and there was still a half hour left, and these guys were headed to the Capitol building hard. And I kind of had a question: what were they up to? Come to find out, that was the Antifa element that was in the crowd.
And
they went there to...
Doug?
Excuse me?
There are naysayers that say don't blame it on them, and we know better, don't we?
Yes, we do. I've got, a lot more proof about the Antifa aspect. Give myself a little background. I've been going against Antifa and some Black Lives Matter, not a whole lot, but mostly Antifa in Richmond, Virginia, over the monuments on Monument Avenue. Been doing this for the better part of 6 years. So I'm very familiar with Antifa and Antifa tactics, how they dress, how they act. You become very familiar with them. So I knew what I was looking at when I got to the Capitol building, and it looked totally different. I just want to paint like a contrasting picture of when we were at the monument and in the mall, and we were watching Donald Trump on the jumbotron. It's kind of like it was a family atmosphere. There was a lot of camaraderie going on. There was a lot of, you different groups of people, and everybody was getting along just like family, like Trump supporters always do. We can get jammed into an arena somewhere, and there's never any problem. So, then you go shift back to what was going on at the Capitol. It was like, where did these guys all dressed in black come from that are combating with the police? And I'm going, no Trump supporters dressing all black, look like little ninjas up there. And I mean, they're actually kicking the police's butt. And I'm thinking to myself, this is Antifa. This isn't Trump supporters. So I've never shied away from Antifa. So I was going to go up there to confront them because I support law enforcement. I've always supported law enforcement. And I would say just about 100% of Trump supporters support law enforcement. We're for law and order. We're not the ones that try to defund the police. We're trying to refund the police.
Absolutely.
So what I saw was total contrast to my beliefs. So I see police up there waving us into the building, and I'm like, well, I would say by my estimate,
Doug, let's emphasize that the police were waving you into the Capitol building, right?
Absolutely. There was 3 or 4 key officers in key places. There was you got to remember that the inauguration for Joe Biden was just around the corner at January 6th. It was on January 20th. So they had these scaffoldings built up in front of the Capitol building, and there was police on top of the roof of the Capitol. There's a walkway around the rotunda. They were up there waving people on. They were on top of the scaffolding waving people on, and they were on the ground in the stairway waving people on. So it was obvious they wanted people in the building. So the easiest path for me to get in was, I believe it was the east side. They call it the atrium. So that's where I got in a line, which was a long, snaky line. There was probably 300 people ahead of me trying to get into the building.
Doug, can I interrupt you
again?
And
Lord knows how many were inside.
Let's make it clear to our audience, Doug, that when you got there to the Capitol, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, you can say this for yourself, but you had no intentions of going inside the Capitol building, did you?
No, I didn't. I was, we were going to the Capitol in a show of force to stand outside and let Congress know that, hey, you've got, well, I'm not afraid to say it. There was over 1 million people there, probably closer to 2 million. And I've never seen that many people in my entire life. That was crazy how many people were there. And just the show of solidarity of, hey, look, stop the steal. That was our main thing. But with cops waving us in, I said, we got 2 million people out there. It's like now or never. If Congress needs to hear for once from the people that you work for us. you don't push us around like we're your slaves, because we're not. You work for us. We hired you to do a job, and you're not doing it. So we're here to tell you, do your job. So I got it in. I said, if I don't go in here, I'll never be satisfied with myself at all. If I don't at least go in here and try to talk to the House or Senate, somebody. So that was my rationale that came up as I saw the violence in front of the building and who was committing the violence. So, we've approached the building and attempted, waited in line to get in. The doors were open. We all know that if that building was locked, there's no amount of horsepower a human could get to open those doors. So those doors were open from the inside to allow people in. You can't break into a government building that has these electromagnetic locks on it. You're not getting in. You might pull the door handle off, but you're not getting in. So they unlocked the building from the inside to allow people in. So, we stormed the Capitol, we broke in. That's a farce. That didn't happen. We saw people breaking windows. I got a picture on my phone of a guy breaking a window 8 feet away from an open door, and I'm like, why is he breaking a window? That's why I took the picture. It's like, why is he breaking a window when the door's open right there? It's like, what
Doug,
is his problem?
Do you have those photos?
Yep. I do have those pictures on my phone, yes.
Well, if you get a chance, send them to me and we'll get them out for you.
When they see, you can go through my phone and get them out. The FBI, the Capitol Police seized my phone the night that I was arrested.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure of that.
They took 2 pictures out, and which left 2 blank spots in my photos of what those 2 pictures were of me standing on Capitol Hill, looking down Constitution Avenue and Maryland Avenue. And there's a sea of people as far as you can see, as wide as the screen is, both angles. It was a sea of people. I've never seen so many before. But then behind me on Capitol Hill was a whole nother sea of people. There was, like I said, somebody estimated the crowd at 1.75 to 2.2 million people. So, that's a lot of Trump supporters. And what I would say is a full 2,000, 2,500 left early, and I would claim that is the number of Antifa that were there.
Doug, when you were arrested, the police were not mean to you, were they?
No, not at all. In fact, I became friends with one of them. The officer Alonzo was assigned to me, and these guys were great. I have no complaints about how we were treated by the Capitol Police.
Right? You were very cooperative with them.
Absolutely. Look, you gotta figure this. I'm just a country boy, and I'm in the city, and you got city police officers, especially federal police officers at a federal building. I'm gonna mind my P's and Q's. I'm not going out of line. This isn't my first rodeo. I've dealt with Capitol Police in Richmond, and I've become very good friends with a lot of those. So, we weren't disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. In fact, when we walked up to them, when we couldn't go any further, there was I'd say 7 police officers in a hallway approaching the rotunda from the left side of the building. I went up and spoke to him, and the first one was visibly shaken. He was a younger fella, and he was almost in tears. His first words to me was, "Man, we just want to go home tonight." I said, "We all do." I said, "We're not here to cause y'all any trouble." he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to be able to speak to the House or Senate. He said, you can't do that. They are sequestered at this time. You can't approach them. I said, well, then we're here to turn ourselves in, which we were promptly handcuffed and sat on the floor. We were each assigned an officer.
Why did you tell them you're here to turn yourself in?
Because we couldn't go any further. First of all, there was a steel door that came down behind us when we entered. And I'll go into the entrance. We had, like I said, we had to wait in line, and there was probably, there was 500 to 600 people ahead of us that were already in the building and ahead in line that got in before we did.
Do you feel, Doug? Doug, and I hate to interrupt you, but do you feel that it was like a bait and trap situation?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the doors were open. They had people waving us in, and then, the first officers that I came in contact with were those, I think there was 7 of them that were in a hallway. Now, we had already been inside the Capitol for just a few minutes when we came up on them, and they said, hey, you can't go any further. And I'm like, okay, well, we're here to turn ourselves in because we couldn't leave. The steel door had come down behind us. Yeah, so it's kind of like a trap, yeah.
My next question is, if it was locked up like you say it was, and I believe you, were some of the authorities surprised you were even inside?
No.
No?
No, not at all. No, they didn't act surprised at all.
Wow.
In fact, there's I'll go ahead and just spill this one out.
Yep.
This is the only infraction that I could say about Capitol Police was there was this Lieutenant Bruno who wrote all the paperwork up after we were arrested that night.
Bruno.
Yes, this Lieutenant Bruno swears under oath that he told me and Cindy and a couple other people that were with us that we had to leave or we'd be arrested, which that never happened. And in my PDF testimony from court, it says that 2 of his officers stated that they never heard him say it. So, that was one of the bases for me being prosecuted is I was supposedly warned to leave or get arrested. That's my first arrest. I'd have left if I had the option.
I believe that.
I mean, that's just plain and simple. If I had an option of leaving or being arrested, I'd have left. But that's not really the scenario that happened. And he testified under oath to that in court, which that's a blatant lie. But that's Officer Bruno. I had no contact with Bruno. In fact, I didn't even know Bruno existed until after I was arrested, sitting in the floor. Now Bruno's like 6'6", tall, skinny white guy, black hair, black mustache. He comes strolling in. He's the only one with a firearm. Okay. Now, the other police have radios, but he's the only one with a firearm. And to me, the firearms don't scare me. I've been around them all my life, and police don't scare me. But what scares me is when police lie in court.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, hey, innocent people go to jail for a long time over a dumb lie.
Doug, let me break in a minute here. In case you've just tuned in right now to Rapid Fire Radio and TV, we are talking to Doug Sweet out of Virginia, one of the very first individual to be arrested January the 6th of 2021. And, Doug, before we go any further, give us a little background. What is your life story in a nutshell, whatever you want to tell me? What is your occupation and that kind of thing? Can you do that for me?
Well, I've been many things. I raised 2 daughters by myself, a failed marriage, and I got custody of my children at a young age, and I raised them by myself. So I was kind of like a jack of all trades, and I did many, many things. whatever it took to raise kids. And these days it's hard. This was mostly during the 90s and the early 2000s. After that, I paid my house off. I started getting politically motivated, and I guess around 2010, I started getting active in politics, and which led me into activism, which happened somewhere around 2016, the Trump election, the turmoil behind it all kind of got me involved. And now I got involved with the monument. They wanted to destroy all the Confederate monuments in Virginia and all the localities. We all have one in each county, and they wanted to tear everything down. And I just felt like, hey, that's part of history. You can't do that. This kind of like
absolutely
liberal destruction of our country and our heritage is unacceptable to me. So that's the first battle I chose. The second battle I chose is in political activism, you start to see that the liberals are winning on every front. They're kicking our butt, and we just had to oppose Antifa. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, are insane. They're disgusting scourges on our society. Black Lives Matter has yet to help one black life anywhere. And Antifa, I believe they're the brown shirts from the Nazi regime. Just breathe new life into them. And they're both hacks of the Democratic Party. They use them to do their dirty work. And having witnessed this for so long, the surprise in D.C. on January 6th that Antifa was the main force of destroying everything, yet every article that mainstream media writes, it has Antifa not even part of it. It's like, no, somebody needs to say it, and I've been dying to open my mouth and speak what I know to be true on public radio, television, anywhere I can say it. Antifa was there. They were there in force. They committed the crimes, and it's probably something that they're laughing at right now, because part of my sentence, even though I was peaceful and never broke anything, I had to pay $500 restitution to fix, I think it was, they say, $1.5 million worth of damage to the Capitol building, whereas everyone they arrested probably had nothing to do with any of the damage. And the ones that did the damage were agent provocateurs, FBI agents, in other words.
Always about money. Always about money anyway. And you know what I did? I did some research, Doug. And the research that I done on you, and I managed to do this last night, the whole town where you live knows you. They like you. In fact, when you were in jail, they took care of your dog for you. And then, what else did they do?
They did.
And they paid the fines for you, did they not?
Yes, they did.
Oh, man. Real Americans, folks.
I couldn't come from a better place, I think. I'll go ahead and brag on it. It's
You go ahead.
I live on an island in the Chesapeake Bay, and it's part of Matthews County, Virginia. Some of the finest people you ever meet come from there. Wow. It's amazing what they'll do.
Doug, you're also a biker, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we connect, brother. I felt good vibes the minute I visited with you, and I hope we have a long friendship, brother.
You know, I sense that, Reb, because I don't know. I feel a kinship with you from the first minute we spoke.
Yes.
And you gave me an opportunity and I'll get into that too now. It's been a year since, I was arrested and released. I've had hundreds of offers of interviews from all over the world. I did entertain a few of those, which backfired miserably. They were left-leaning, and they scorched me in public, and you kind of get burned once or twice, and you learn your lesson. So I've been waiting all this time for a conservative platform where I could, share my story. Well, they were never willing to. I don't even know if conservative platforms really exist on mainstream media, because I'm pretty convinced at this point that the same people that own all of mainstream media own the conservative ones as well. And they just allow a certain amount of truth to come out. They're fooling the people, and they fool with the wrong one. I'm going to find a way to tell my story.
Doug.
And Reb, my brother, you have given me my first opportunity to tell it.
Doug, you've even suffered
and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you, Doug. You've even suffered some persecution within your young family, with amongst your family.
Yes, my oldest daughter is a Black Lives Matter member.
Man. Yep.
And of course she's a liberal Democrat. And she somehow feels that George Floyd was just a wonderful man. But that's what got her going. And the reality with George Floyd, and I hate to just pop anybody's bubble, but he's gutter urchin, in society. And I think they could have found somebody, a whole lot better to rally behind than somebody was trying to pass phony money, who was overdosed on fentanyl at the time. I mean, I don't want to trash the man any more than he's trashed himself, but, people could pick a better person to get behind. And my daughter did it. It's kind of sad that she did.
It is sad.
So many people have been sucked into that movement that, out of ignorance, they're not taught history in school. They're not taught much of anything in school anymore.
No, they're not.
And she's guilty of that. She's a product of the 90s liberal arts teachings in high school, and I think she was pushed through high school more than she earned her way through. And that's just being honest.
Well, Doug, is there anything else you'd like to tell the American people? Anything that you saw that
back to my story.
Yeah.
Back to my story is, we were paraded around inside of the Capitol building for about 7 hours, handcuffed. I never really mentioned it too much, but I got a lot of nerve damage in both shoulders for being handcuffed behind my back for so long. I don't have the longest arms on the planet, and kind of wide shoulders, and they had them tight on my back, and they did some damage. But while we were paraded around, I got to see a lot of things. I saw Ashley Babbitt's blood on the floor in the Statuary Hall main entrance into the rotunda from the front of the Capitol building. And I'd heard through the radio what had happened. The police were talking about it. It was sad, when I heard that they had just shot somebody at close range, unarmed lady, and I even knew the background because somebody gave us the background.
Doug, an Air Force veteran. Yeah. She was a veteran, right?
She was a 17-year veteran of the U.S. Air Force, unarmed, shot point blank in the neck. And I'm like, what provoked that officer to shoot her through a doorway?
Why was nobody else shot?
That's my question, is how come they didn't shoot us all?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But while we were paraded around, like I said, I became very good friends with Officer Alonzo, and I hate to give him too much background on him. I don't want to hurt him in any way, but him and his wife both are 25-year veterans of the Capitol building, him in the police force and her in the tourism department. And so he got to show me a lot of things that I'd never seen before and explained them to me. And for that, I'm very grateful to him. But while I was close to him so much, I was listening to the police radios, and they told us they told the police one contingent outside said, I guess they called Lieutenant Bruno, and they asked him, hey, we've got 3 police combatants out here. Can we bring them into y'all? And he said, yes, we've got plenty of extra officers, because each person gets handled and controlled by one officer. So we had some extra officers in there, and they brought these 3 guys in there, and immediately I knew who they were. They were Antifa. They were all 23 years old. They had long hair way down past their chest, stringy. They were handcuffed with zip ties. They all had backpacks, just like Antifa always has a backpack. All of them had backpacks, and all of them had been pepper sprayed, and there was some other chemical spray that they were sprayed with, and I'm not sure of. I don't really remember tasting that before, but I know that pepper spray was, and maybe tear gas. I'm not sure. But then they'd been washed off, but you could plainly see that these guys had knuckles applied to their faces and heads by the police department, because they said that they were police combatants. Now, they were held with us and paraded around for a couple more hours until we were loaded into a paddy wagon. But on the way to the paddy wagon, they took us through the tramway where House and Senate come in on. They have a little, I guess you could call it a train, and it goes into a below ground tunnel, and it picks them up from a parking lot about 5 blocks away from the Capitol. It takes them underground into the Capitol. So that's how they proceeded to walk the 7 of us that were arrested, plus I think it was the 7. Yes, it was 7 of us that were arrested, and then the 3 Antifas. And then there was a girl in red that they ended up letting her go too. But we had to walk down that tunnel. Now, down that tunnel, that's where and I do believe this in all my heart, that's how they let Antifa out without the general public seeing them. Because all their gloves, their hats, their shirts, the clothes, the black clothing that they wear to cover up, they came in under the guise of being Trump supporters. Then they put the black on to fight the cops. Now, all their clothing was in this tunnel. It was littered from one end to the other. And like I said, this is at least 5 blocks underground. And I know the Antifa signs very well. There were toboggan-type hats that had 3 arrows in red pointed at a 45-degree angle down. Now, that's definitely Antifa insignia.
Yes, it is.
And I saw multiples of those in that tunnel. So I know it was Antifa property. It was in that tunnel. They were allowed to leave by. So we got to the end of that tunnel. We were loaded into a paddy wagon. We were brought to a precinct very close to the Capitol. And they took the 3 Antifa boys and put them on a different side of the paddy wagon as they did the male Trump supporters. And when we got to the police department, they were told, at the police precinct, they were told to sit down in the floor and stay away from us and don't speak to us. Okay, then the sergeant at that precinct asked those boys to stand up. He cut their zip tie bands that they had handcuffing them behind their back and allowed them to go free.
Oh, my God.
And mind you, these guys were fighting with police. Yet my group, who was very peaceful in all things, we were detained, we were arrested, we were charged, and then we were released on our own recognizance. These guys were set free without charges. That's what really piqued my curiosity about, okay, really, really, what's going on here? And what really, really is going on here is they were hired help. That's all there is to it. Antifa was there. They were there in force. They were paid to do what they did, and they got away scot-free with it. And now all of them are sitting back laughing at us Trump supporters that have to pay $500 each to fix the damages that they caused. Now, in America, I call that a travesty.
It is a travesty.
That's that's the best word I can come up with. It's a travesty. But it's coming out little by little. It's coming out. Now, people can believe my testimony or not, but that's the God's honest truth. I'm a God-fearing man. I go to church every Sunday, and lying is about the biggest, worst thing anybody can do is become a liar. Because other than your word, what do you have?
That's exactly right.
So that's my testimony on what happened there. It's
Doug,
sad that this happened, but I'm glad to be a part of it. One of the ads, or one of the, I guess, not an ad, but it's one of the reporters reported in a article about our being sentenced and prosecuted on it. They said that it was only me and one other person that had no remorse about going into the Capitol, and I still have no remorse about going into the Capitol. I have none at all. I'm very proud of what I did. I feel like I did it for all the right reasons, and I feel like I did it in all the right manners because I used my best judgment, my best manners, and most politeness. I never spoke ill of the police, and I'm not going to. They did a good job at what they did, but they're complicit in this ruse that they've placed on the American people. It's this isn't face up, straight up what you think it is.
Right. I don't. Doug, I want to tell you. I know and I feel in my heart that you are a real American, And President Reagan once said that there aren't any heroes in this country, that people think there isn't any. And he said, you don't know where to look. And right here is a shining example. And people are going to take this wrong or whatever they want to take. You've been slandered and you've had problems, and I'm standing with you, brother. If you went into the Capitol and you were pleasant and they released you and you paid a fine, there's the shining example of what a real American would have done had he been there, and you were.
I'm proud to have been there. I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of the police officers that took good care of us while we were in there. I mean, yes, they paraded us around. And I'll clarify that. They were looking for a safe way to get us to be arrested. And there was no safe way to leave. Everywhere going around, the Capitol building was completely surrounded by, 2 million people. They did the best they could. And I know, yes, I was handcuffed for 7 or 8 hours, behind my back. And yes, I got some nerve damage, but, considering the circumstances, I know they did the best they could. And I say, I got to take my hat off, tip my hat to the Capitol Police. They did a good job, but at the same time, I think they know that they were playing a role, and they don't want everybody to know this, but they were playing a role, and they were just doing what they were told to do.
Well,
but as in all law enforcement, I got top respect for law enforcement.
Events.
On my motorcycle helmet, I got I got one of those little stickers that says, "I'd rather be carried by 6 than judged by 12."
Well, like the old saying long ago, events in government are usually staged, and I believe
yes.
you. And I've got your 6, brother.
Thanks, man. Reb, I love you, man. You're a brother.
I love you. I love you too, brother. And I feel
hey, man,
for
you gave me an opportunity that I've been waiting a year to do, and because it was you, I'm so thankful.
And I, from the bottom of my heart, I truly, truly appreciate you, Doug. And the old Reb did not come on here for personal glory or anything else. The bottom line is we are fighting for freedom with everything that we've got, and we don't have a lot, but we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to be posted up on a Wheaties box.
Yeah.
I just love my country, and I can't stand by. One of the things that irks me is how people can sit on and watch. And I've got to play. I can't. I'm not a bystander. I have to be participating. And I see my country getting flushed down a commode. And this is a guiding force of me. I've got a whole bunch of grandchildren, and I've got one in particular that's the oldest one, and she if she was to look at me one day and say, Paul, how come you didn't do anything to help stop this? That would break my heart. But at least now, my little granddaughter can go to school and say, hey, my Paw stood up.
And
he might not have accomplished a whole lot, but he did stand up.
And it's all about the stand, isn't it, Doug?
It is. You got to try.
You got to try.
That's like, yes, I could have turned around in the crowd and went back to the car, but I would have never been able to live with myself. I had the opportunity. I felt like, hey, I got just as good a chance of seeing Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi as anybody else there did. So
that's right. You're right.
I felt like it was my duty to go do that.
Well, and you weren't violent.
And I didn't have a prepared speech for them.
Yeah.
All I just want to do is address them and remind them, hey, look, y'all work for us. This isn't all about you. It's about our country.
Absolutely.
And we got 315 million people in this country we look up to these people to make the proper decisions for it. And what I'm seeing, they're trashing us. They're throwing us to the wastebasket, and
yes,
it's sad. I can't be a bystander and just watch.
Well, Doug, it's a powerful story that you have told the American people, and we're going to get this out everywhere for you. And you are a special American, and this is probably one of the most important interviews I have done since the year 2014 when I instituted alternative media to help the American people. And I appreciate you so much, brother.
Wow, Reb, man, that's very flattering. That really, really is.
I mean it.
I'm just a guy. I
am too. I'm just a guy. We're just guys trying to get freedom out there, and we have to do something. It is better than doing nothing.
Yeah, you said a mouthful right then. It's doing something is better than nothing if it's helpful.
That's exactly right, brother.
That's what I strive to be doing, is something that is positive. And I hope that my grandchildren, will be able to see this and say, hey, maybe they can understand Paw a little bit better. And I hope, everybody can get in there and just see, hey, I love my country. And, so many people that don't. And I know that there's people that would like to do more, but their jobs won't let them. That's kind of like what I do going back to, I cut grass in the summertime and I cut wood in the wintertime because I don't have a boss. I don't have somebody that Antifa can continuously call and harass and cost me my job and my livelihood. Because that's what they do. It's called doxing.
Yeah.
They
absolutely.
And I've seen too many good patriots that lost. I know one that lost her job driving a school bus.
Yep,
Now,
I know
it
that
doesn't
too.
pay a whole heck of a lot, but with her husband, that's how they paid their bills.
Yep.
And
It's
she
happened.
lost her job,
Doug,
and Lord only knows what she can do now.
Doug, it has happened here in South Dakota, too. You're not alone. It's happened right here to a guy that stood up to everybody and did not care about anything, and Antifa made sure that he was fired and sent down the road.
Yep. That happens. That's okay. That's a communist technique.
Yes, it is.
If you won't conform to the way I want you to conform to, you're going to pay for it.
Absolutely. Listen up, America. Doug Sweet is telling you the truth to set you all free.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Rib. Look, this is the beginning of a real good relationship, brother.
Doug, I hope one day to shake your hand, and if you ever get your motorcycle again, or if you still have one, you ride out here to South Dakota and hang out with the old Reb, and we'll do some riding and exchange stories and whatever else we can come up with.
You can bank on it, and I'll tell you what, if you ever come out this way in Virginia, I can set you up with some of the best seafood you've ever put in your mouth.
Well, I appreciate that, and I've got a good woman here who can cook you a steak like you've never had in your life, so you better get ready.
I've always, ever since that I started following Kristi Noem, I said, man, there's something special about South Dakota, and it's popping right now. It's showing up. The things about South Dakota that I've missed. I'll be 60 years old on my next birthday, and I'm coming out there and checking it out.
You need to, brother. And we are. One time I once made this quote. How come you guys fly Southern rebel flags? And I go, because we're Southern Dakotans and proud of it.
I love it. But it's not about necessarily about the Confederate Army or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more of an attitude.
That's it.
It's the rebellious attitude to just leave me alone, let me do what I do best, and quit harassing me.
That's exactly right. Leave this long-haired country boy alone.
You got that right.
Well, Doug, I wish you the best. I wish you the best. I hope that you are blessed with goodness the rest of your remaining days, and that you'll be able to ride free, to be free. And I appreciate our kinship, brother, very much.
Hey, I appreciate it too. Reb, I love you, brother. And like I say, if you ever need me for anything, you call me. I got your back.
That's one thing I want to get out to the folks that I read about you too. The entire town where you're from all said one statement all the time, every time, that Doug Sweet would give you the shirt off his back. And I absolutely believe that.
Oh, I will. I love people. I'm going to get into some Christian now, but look, that's what God wants us to be.
That's right.
When we're Christian, He wants us. He's a people God. He loves people. He wants us to be just like Him. I love all people.
I do too.
And that's where I'm going to leave it.
All right, Doug. Well, I'm in the same page as you are, and I am very glad to have met up with you and talked to you and visit, even though it's been a short time. Thanks to my good friend Jerry Emery out there, another freedom fighter that has had his share of troubles, who directed me to Doug Sweet. Jerry, you're the real deal, brother.
Yeah, Jerry, tip my hat to you, brother, because, man, you're awesome. You've hooked me up, brother.
All right, Doug. Stay safe, be safe, and stay in touch. You got my number, and
I do, but will.
If anything comes up, you call, and we'll get you on the air. This radio station is at any patriot's disposal that wants to get the truth out there.
Thanks a lot, Reb. I love you, brother, and you have a blessed day.
You too, brother.
All right, man.
Good night. Bye. I shouldn't say good night. It's early for me yet here. When you're retired, this is how things go out here. I want you to know I'm a little I took some melatonin last night, so I'm in a little brain fog this morning here, and I got a late start. So I apologize to my audience out there. All my people that listen to me and my friends and the patriots, you are incredible folks. And I truly, truly appreciate it. I can't do these shows without you. You've helped this station tremendously, and you know who you are. And if you wish to make a donation, you can find me on Facebook, inbox me. We take that money and keep this radio station going 24/7. You're awesome people. And what I wanted to say about President Reagan, I don't know if I got that right, but he said that it has been said that there are no heroes. And he said, but you have to know where to look. And Doug Sweet is an American hero. And he's a real American. Now, some people might not agree that he shouldn't have gone into the Capitol. But you know what? The police were good to him. He was good to them. He was not belligerent. He didn't destroy anything. He paid his fines. In fact, the whole town paid his fines because they knew that Doug Sweet would not harm no one. But he made it his point in his heart to go into the Capitol because he wanted to tell the folks in there that the American folks have had enough. And I think that's our right. And yet then we find out that they have doors that come down over doors. So you know that no one ever could have got in there. Not likely. They allowed it. There are things built at the White House and at the Capitol building and all other buildings to prevent a lot of things. And we shouldn't have come this far, ladies and gentlemen. We should not have come this far to have this. Because back in the day, some presidents had the folks come into the White House and have a gathering with them. And we have lost our way. And we have lost our way with our country. And we have to get it back. And we also have to stand up and take a stand. There's nothing wrong with taking a stand if you're in the right. And righteousness should prevail always. The right thing is what you, the real American, needs to do to stand up for freedom. God bless everybody this morning out here in South Dakota. We appreciate all of you that fight for freedom. Constant vigilance, my friends. Get a copy of the Constitution, read it, live it, and talk about it at the kitchen table. And then you will understand why real Americans like Doug Sweet take a stand. The old Reb, I'm going to leave you with the freedom song that I always leave you with. Randall Zwarte Band, Freedom, and it needs to be. God bless all of you.
Pushing on me. You sell your freedom when you take them something for free. You sell your nothing. Ain't taking nothing for free. Take back all the food stamps you're pushing on me. You sell your freedom when you take that something for free. You sell your freedom when you take that something for free. You sell your freedom when you take that something for free. You sell your freedom when you take that something. That's something.